Hey guys, welcome to Unbothered. I'm your host, Patrick Uzili. I'm currently a marriage and family therapist graduate student, and my hope in creating this podcast is to have a platform to share the things I learn as I go on this journey, and also to have some inspiring guests come on to share their stories in hopes that parts of their stories could also benefit you in your own journey. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue to provide you with some of this great content.
Let's get this started. I'm excited to kind of like.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Okay, so I know like a little bit about your story. I know you were on season 10 of Big Brother. I know you're a trained hypnotherapist. You have a podcast of your own. You're an international speaker and a mindset coach. But let's start with this. So who is Carly Ashworth and how would you describe yourself, would you say?
I mean, every time I get asked to kind of put my essence in one word, I would always say it's mystical, right? I really truly believe in the higher power that surrounds us and us being able to really co-create with the universe and create a life that we all crave, a life of freedom and, just doing what we all love. So yeah, who am I? I'm mystical, and I just love to share synchronistic stories with the world to make people believe that they are too.
Okay, wow. So I mean, before like we dive into like your story and whatnot, I want to know like a little bit about like your upbringing and just kind of like how you were raised.
Sure. So I am from Bonnie, Scotland, and
Okay.
Scotland really has a special place in my heart. It's a beautiful country, and it's just a super nurturing place to grow up. There's a lot of nature there. So growing up, I was always surrounded by nature. I was at the beach
Mhm.
all the time. And yeah, I really enjoyed immersing myself in education. I've always been one to have a thirst for knowledge, to find out more, to find out how things work. And I was really drawn to art through school. I went on to art school at university, and after being at university, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. Um, and then I found myself in Big Brother. So, growing up in Scotland for me was a beautiful experience, very grounding. And then as soon as I left school and university, I was like, it just flipped and changed, and then I was all over the world. So yeah, life goes fast over here.
Okay. So like let's dive into the part of you being on Big Brother. How did that come about exactly, if I may ask?
I manifested Big Brother. I
Mm-hmm.
manifested that experience. When I look back and I reflect, I used to watch the show. I used to watch it growing up.
Yeah.
Mommy and I, we would watch it every night. We loved it. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I always would watch the housemates and say, I'd love to be in that house. I wonder what it would be like to be in that house. And it was actually when I had left university and I had done a job in a call center. And
Mm-hmm.
in the call center, every time you logged on, there would be a homepage which would be celebrity news, and they would always have Big Brother on the front page. And I remember every time logging in for work, putting my headset in, being like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be on that show one day. I just know it and I feel it. And it was such a synchronistic moment when I actually went for the first audition. I remember my friend and I, we'd been in Edinburgh, we were driving home, and the announcement came on the radio in the car that the auditions were going to be in Edinburgh that day. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, let's just go there. Let's just go now. Like this is meant to be. Let's go. So we did. And I just kept getting through all the rounds. And I was like, I manifested this. Something feels like I'm in alignment and this is going to happen. And it's just going to be a reality one day. And yeah, the whole process took 6 months, but I would definitely say that I visualized that reality for myself for years
Mm-hmm.
prior.
What got you into manifesting?
I think it's something that I've always done. I've always been a very visual person. So it's just it's always been a dreamy part of my personality. And I would encourage anyone who really wants to manifest life, they want to manifest an experience, it's like, get dreamy. Think and cook up your wildest dreams that you could ever imagine, because there is something about doing that that really makes you pull in the synchronicities, the meetings with people, the opportunities. And again, it's just who I've always been. How I've managed to ground my manifestations is through meditation. So I
Okay.
got into meditation probably about 3-4 years ago. I had a spiritual awakening, and meditation was what really grounded me. It was something that really helped me to align myself inwardly, to have more self-awareness, to actually trust my intuition as well. So meditation, visualization is what then got me more and more into manifestation, because I was thinking of something crazy and it was dropping in my reality the next day. And there's stories that I could tell you that are just so crazy and out there that people wouldn't believe it was true, but it is.
Yeah, like I mean, just by like looking at your Instagram, like that's definitely like something I see. Like you're very big on manifesting. So that's pretty cool. So your experience like with Big Brother, I realized like before that, like you explained how you went up to college and how that situation didn't really like work out, like it wasn't what you wanted. Then just doing like my research, I was like, and what you just said, you got a job after that, and like that didn't like work out as well. So like that wasn't necessarily like the best period of your life. Then you decided, like you said, like you heard on the radio that Big Brother was casting, and you decided to like do that. Like what frame of mind were you in like before you heard about that on the radio? Because that didn't really seem like a particularly like easy time in your life.
Yeah. And this is the thing with manifesting. I think there's two parts of it, right? When life gets difficult
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have the reality we want yet, you can either have a mindset of fear and lack and scarcity and all of these things. And I have definitely experienced that. I mean, the job, I had lost my job at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what was next. I had no idea what was going to happen. I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to dream up this crazy idea that I'm going to be on the TV. Like it's just going to happen. And I would drive around in my car and listen to songs. I
Yeah.
would manifest with music and stuff. But yeah, I mean, the mindset that I was in, it was not a good mindset. It was not a good frame of mind. But I would say that I shifted my mindset every single morning when I woke up, and I played my favorite music and I visualized a life that I wanted to live. And, you see those memes and it's like people are delusional and live in
Mm-hmm.
delusional land. And part of it is you have to, because we do truly
Mm-hmm.
start to believe our own thoughts. Yeah, what helped me through that mindset shift was I just was unwilling to accept that the reality that I had been given, where I didn't have a job or opportunity or a way forward, I didn't accept that that was my reality. Accept that I was responsible for my future, for my life, for what I wanted to create. And as crazy as that sounded, I was a Scottish girl from a really small town, destined to like just be on this huge TV show, and with no way of knowing how I would do it. And I think that's part of manifesting as well. It's the surrender element. You don't have to work out how it's going to happen. All you need to
Mm-hmm.
do is just stay in alignment and trust the nudges when they come.
So walk me through like the audition process. I believe like you said, like you went with your friend. So like I mean, walk me through that when you guys first went to audition, like what that process was like and how long it was.
Yeah, that I love actually telling this part of the story because it was just so much fun. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the audition process is a long process actually, and you don't hear from the producers in between. So from the first day that I
Mhm.
went to the Scotland audition, I didn't hear back for a few months. And then I'm just moving on with my life. Like, oh, I'll get a job doing whatever in between and I'll maybe figure stuff out. I was looking at moving to Australia at the time. You know, I'm just thinking, I'm
Mhm.
see where the universe is going to take me. But yeah, a few months later, I get a phone call and the call was literally like this. Hi, it was from an unknown number. Hi,
Mhm.
this is the producers from Big Brother. We need you to get on a train to London tomorrow. Here's the code. We're going to put you in this hotel. And at 11 a.m. the next morning, you're going to meet some guy in a park that's got a teddy bear and a pink umbrella. And you're going to say a code word that's donut or something silly. And I'm
Okay.
just sitting there at the phone, like, cool. Yep. Okay. No problem. Yep. Now,
Yeah.
me, I'm like, that's just that. But at the time, I was like, yeah, intuitively, I know this is legit and I know this is real. And I did. I put the code in, my train ticket came out. I'm on my way to London. I'm in the hotel. And then I meet the guy in the park and we go to a secret location. And at that
Mhm.
phase of the audition, that's when they're really, really bringing people down to the last numbers. And there was a part in the audition where they really want to know if you can handle conflict, if you can handle your own, because it is a social experiment at the end of the day. They want to know how
Mhm.
people are interacting with one another, which is fascinating. And there was a big circle of us, and they say, okay, whoever's your competition, vote them out and tell them why. And everybody voted me out. And they said, whoever you vote out, they're going home. They will never be a housemate. Like, it's game over for them. So they voted
Mhm.
me out. And I'm raging. I'm like, I came all this way from Scotland and
Yeah.
why? And so the producer says, do you have any final words? And I'm like going crazy, like, can't believe you would vote me out, blah, blah, blah. They pull me out of the room and the producer says, it's you, and all of them are going home.
Wow. That's an amazing twist.
No way. So, but then it wasn't
Uh-huh.
finished. It wasn't even finished there. They were like, we'll call you if you're coming back to the next phase, right? So I'm like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
okay. So they move it along and it's maybe a month or so. I've not heard anything. So I moved to Australia. I'm like, okay, life's got to keep moving. I moved to Australia. I'm only in Australia for 3 weeks. And I got a phone call, unknown number. I'm like, oh, that's strange. And it's the producers. And the producers say, Carly, great news. We're calling to let you know you're a housemate. We need you to be in London tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, there's just a small problem here. I'm in Australia now. They're like, it's cool. We'll get you on the next flight home. Just get yourself back. And I did. And it was literally that quick. And when I told you my life moves fast, it really genuinely does. I was at the airport within 3 hours. I was on the next flight back to London. And then I was in hiding. So what they done back in the day is they would put the housemates in hiding. So
Mhm.
we were in a blackout cab over to France. I was in a chateau like with this two chaperones that I'd never met, these beautiful souls. And we just had the
Mhm.
best time for a week filming stuff and keeping us all hidden. And yeah, and then you're straight from hiding right into the house.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And at the time, what's even more crazy is that like you're only 21 years old. Just tell me a little bit like what that experience was like once you actually got into the house and like just like being like I mean, I'm assuming like you're probably like one like the youngest people there at 21.
Yeah, I mean, 21 years old to be put in such a high voltage reality where you're with different um it's just such an intense environment. And when you're 21, you think you know who you are. You think you've got everything figured out. And I definitely
Mhm.
feel invincible at that age. And I think that's really what got me through. But um, I would say, and I have said this in interviews before, it's too young for someone to be in that level of immediate fame and in the entertainment world. It's a lot. However, the experience of being in the house and being, look, everything happens for a reason. That the age, on reflection, I was a bit too young to handle the level of fame and to withstand it afterwards. But I think being young, you do have a freedom within you. You have a courage, you're fearless, you are able to just navigate life's blows and ups and the downs. So I do think even being young, that really did help me in a lot of ways.
But yeah, I feel like that kind of like goes back to the point you're making, like in terms of like believing in yourself and just kind of like having unrealistic goals. And I feel like at 21, like you said, like you really don't fear anything. So I mean, at the same time, like even though like you're so young, I feel like there's also like a good thing to being like naive in a sense and just like thinking you can like, do
100%.
whatever. Yeah.
Okay, I'll figure it out later. You get more cautious as you get older because you have more life experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're young, you're like, it's cool, figure it out. And I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's psychologically, I, I feel like I was probably too young to understand how to manage fame.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly the age did go in my favor because I was so fearless.
So how was it like? I've always like wondered this, like in terms of like reality TV. So how was it like being essentially like under surveillance like 24/7 and like being recorded all the time? And were the cameras like visible? Like what was that experience like? Just like knowing that you were being always being like recorded. Like how'd that feel like?
It's such a wild concept to know that you're under constant surveillance. But no, you do genuinely forget that the cameras are there.
Okay.
That house becomes your reality. There is no outside world outside of the people that you live with in that environment. It's
Mm-hmm.
your mind really does adapt to where you are. So
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the cameras are actually in the house that I was in, they were hidden behind massive mirrors. So the cameramen were actually behind a two-way mirror. So
Uh-huh.
you'd be doing your makeup in the morning, and actually there's another human like right here. You just can't see them. So that's
Yeah.
what you forget. And there is cameras that are on the ceiling, and they will move occasionally, but you you just forget that you're on a TV show, that it's a game. You're just waking up every day and living your life until it came to Thursday, and then people are eliminating you, and you're like, oh my God, I'm in a game. I got to like figure out what I do. And then you're like, oh, yep, there's cameras. Oh, what have I said this week? Oh my goodness. And there's
Yeah.
definitely an element to it that is, I mean, reality is reality, but then there's part of reality TV that's just not reality either. And it is a game. I remember my mum, afterwards, my mum said to me, she was like, I really used to love knowing where you were every day. I would turn the TV on and just watch you sleep. Because you could watch 24-hour surveillance back in those days. So my mum would like, oh, I wonder how she is. And she'd like zoom in and see me in my bed at night. It's the funniest. She loved it.
Yeah, that's definitely like very interesting. Um, so like what would you say like after that whole experience? I'm gonna go back to that like in a bit, but after that whole experience, like what would you say like being on a show like that, what that teach you like about yourself? Like what lessons did you take away from like being in the house? And also to expand on that, like what would you say like now or like the pros of like having this newfound fame and what would you describe as like being like the cons?
There is pros and cons to fame. I think the pros are is that you have influence,
Mm-hmm.
that you can share a message with the world on a large scale, that you can impact people in a positive way. And I do think that, again, my age, I was too young to know how to manage that in a way that was really, really impactful. The cons of fame is that it can be taken away very quickly. It's the same in every part of the industry. I mean, look at NFL players, basketball players, they get injured and it's done. You
Yeah.
know, reality TV, the next season comes on, you're done. So part of that is really knowing who you are, because when you get thrust into the limelight, people start to know your name, they start to feel like they have an opinion of you, and then your reality shifts. You really have to have that inner alignment and really be able to handle the ups and the downs. You know, if an athlete gets injured, if they are really deeply rooted in their own inner alignment and they're meditating and they're focused, it would not matter what life threw at them. They would be able to just navigate that path and know that they're being redirected somewhere else. And I guess that was the same for me at the time. I didn't know myself then.
Mhm.
I didn't have that inner alignment. I didn't have spiritual practices. I didn't meditate back then. I was just put into this roller coaster of fame. And I
Mhm.
think that is where it can become dangerous. It can become dangerous for your mind, for your mental health. And I do see and hear from a lot of people that are in the industry, and they have got this huge following and fame, but sometimes it can feel empty. And where that emptiness is just getting back into alignment with self so you can handle the influence and the
Mhm.
platform you've been gifted to make change in the world.
Yeah. So after doing something like that, I almost like wonder like how much people like start to assume about you. Because I mean, being the real in the reality show, like I almost feel like people just start to feel like they're almost like your friend in a sense. Because like they've seen just how you are. What's your experience like? I mean, people like, I mean, maybe like people like coming up to you like in the street or whatever and kind of like almost like acting like they know you. Did you have, was that kind of like your experience?
Oh yeah, yeah. I lived in London for quite some time after the show, and I would have people come up in the store and say, "Hey, what's going on with so and so? Do you speak to them? Who do you still speak to?" And
Yeah.
they watched us every single night. They knew everything about us. And so there is a part of being in that specific reality TV show is that they do think that they're your best friend. They do think
Mm-hmm.
that you owe them an explanation for how you're living your life. And I understood that at the time. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's been some bizarre moments as well. If I was to fast forward, I was in the Big Brother house, and then I was in this whirlwind, and then everything changed, and I went back to work, and I was in finance, and I'd started from the bottom and worked my way up again. And
Yeah.
I remember commuting and getting the train to work every day, but I was still famous. And people were taking my photo on the train. Like I'd just be casually
Mm-hmm.
sitting on the train, and then I would look up and there'd be someone across the way with their phone, like zooming in, taking loads of pictures of me. And I'm like, I'm living in two worlds right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, fame, especially immediate fame, like what I experienced, it is something that I think has to be handled with care. And as long as you know yourself and as long as you have that inner alignment, then you're good.
So after the show, like what mindset were you in? And I mean you kind of like described it a little bit, but tell me more, like because obviously like now you said like now you're famous, obviously. It's like it's a little bit different. Like I mean, even like the people like you're applying, like the companies you're applying to, like I'm sure like a lot of them like knew who you were, which is quite interesting. So it's like, what was that like?
When I talk about it being a roller coaster, I did go from being really famous and then to just, it was a few experiences that happened, and then I had nothing. And I was at that point of, I need to manifest something right now because I don't
Yeah.
know how my life's going to go. Um, and the opportunity to work and work in finance and go into this company actually came through a friend. I hadn't seen
Hmm.
this friend for years. And she called me and she said, "Oh, why don't you get involved in this company that I'm working with? They're really cool and they're right in the
Hmm.
city." And I was like, wow, I just prayed for a sign and for a new path, and here it is. the synchronicity of that phone call that day. I mean, I didn't even apply for jobs. It landed on my lap. And she said, why don't you come in tomorrow and speak to the team? She set up the interview. I go in, and the whole interview, I can just tell they're looking at me like, you've got a big gap in your CV here. Like, what happened here? And I know that they know who I am.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I was traveling for a bit. And then they just put the CV to the side and they're like, right, tell us about Big Brother. We want to know everything. So in this interview for this like incredible business development finance company, they're just like, we need to know what's going on. So I got the job there and then, because I did, before I went into Big Brother, I had a lot of education and I had the skill set to go into business development and sales and all of that. But that job, that chapter, it humbled me so much. I went from being on a very high to having some experiences happen to me where I was out of alignment, where I made choices that I probably shouldn't have, that took me back to the start. And the universe says, okay, go again, but this time do it right. And I was humbled. And I remember just like thinking to myself, wow, I have never been more content being around these beautiful humans every day. And everyone I worked with in that firm, we were like a family. It was incredible. And we built each other up. I started at the bottom. I worked my way up. I ended up going on to do international business. And, I traveled a lot with it. And it was a really special time, because I think that experience really showed me that nothing is permanent in this life. Everything is flowing, everything is fluid. And the only thing that's genuinely important is that you have alignment within yourself, because the outside world is going to constantly change. As long as you are centered and balanced, it will not matter what gets thrown at you. You will always be able to feel peaceful and grateful and just navigate that. So that was a really cool time in my life.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what do you do now?
So I'm a spiritual development coach.
Okay.
So I coach people through their awakenings. I coach people through exactly the experiences that I went through. Athletes that are injured and they need some form of inner alignment. I teach meditation. I'm teaching the tools to help these individuals to stay grounded in these crazy celebrity industry worlds that they're in. So yeah, and I have the experience to know exactly how they're feeling, to know exactly what's going on. So if you told me that that's what I would be doing 10 years ago, I would have laughed my head off.
Yeah.
And actually, I was having coffee with my friend this morning, and my eyes started to water. And I said, do you know what? I'm just having a moment of gratitude right now. I just feel so grateful. I cannot believe that this is what I do now. And we just had that conversation. But yeah, I help people to find inner alignment and peace, so that no matter what goes on in the world, they will always be able to live a happy, purposeful life.
So like listening to a different podcast you did, like I think at that point, like you're like in a different transition. And at that point, like you're gonna like travel like around the world. Is that something you did do? Like you
Yeah,
did end up doing?
still doing. Yeah, I love
Okay.
traveling. Yes. So yeah, travel for me is just, it lights my soul on fire. I love meeting new people. I also just kind of love seeing where the universe is going to inspire me to go next. I never really know, but I believe in synchronicity and synchronistic moments, and being in these different parts of the world. It's all meant to be. So yeah, I did do a lot of traveling, and I'm still doing it now.
So you're also a hypnotherapist. Tell me a little bit about that, like what got you into that, and like even what specifically like a hypnotherapist is.
Sure. So when I was in the chapter of doing the international business, I really wanted to understand the psychology of what makes someone happy within the workplace. Everybody's got to work, have a career, have a business. Everyone's inspired some way, somehow. But what I found was that the culture of work and the companies that I was working with, the employees, there was always this, let's keep them happy, let's give them material stuff, let's give them raises and bonuses, and that's great. But I felt like there was something missing. There was something about the psychology of a person. What makes them happy? What makes them tick?
Mm-hmm.
And so I proposed to the company that I get educated on NLP, CBT, all of the tools that I would require to understand someone's mindset, their psychology, their the way that they think and process. I went on a year-long course, and hypnotherapy was actually the basis of it. So I knew that I was going to learn all this new incredible knowledge about the human mind. What I didn't anticipate was that being on this course and being immersed in the hypnotherapy learnings would trigger my own spiritual awakening and would open my mind to, actually, I've been manifesting for a long time. Actually, the subconscious mind, actually, our minds are so powerful. Wow. And that was the moment that I thought, this is really what I want to do. I want to help people. I want to coach people. And so eventually, as the world changed, I moved into being a hypnotherapist and a coach, and I helped people with their spiritual development. And everybody has the ability to tap into their intuition. It just feels different for everyone. And that was what I started to niche and started to focus on. And yeah, the rest history.
What would you say like the most profound moment you've had while being a hypnotherapist is? Like, what's the most profound moment? Like while working with a client that made you feel like, okay, yeah, I made the right decision. I'm on the right path.
So I have to tell you this story about a woman that I worked with. And she came to me because she had anxiety about her two children dying, and her kids were healthy. She's like, there's nothing wrong with my kids. It is completely irrational that I have these thoughts, and I feel like you could help me with it. So we did a session, and what we actually did was a concept called past life regression. Now, if you look into the concept that our soul is eternal, our soul lives on, and it's reincarnated, and we're back to learn lessons. What therapy actually does is allows you to tap into any past life memories and lessons and imprints of your soul. So I thought, had an intuitive feeling. I was like, let's just do past life regression in this session and see if there's something deeper, because how she feels is irrational. So we did, and she actually had a very vivid memory of her son being her father and her daughter being her mother, and them dying in a fire in France, like way back. And she wasn't able to say goodbye to them. She lost them very suddenly. She couldn't say goodbye. And as her kids came into her life this time round, she just felt like if she was to let them go with a family member, or if she was to leave them, she wouldn't see them again. During that session, she was immediately relieved of that anxiety. She has never felt that anxiety ever again. The next day, she let her mother take the kids. She said that she had never felt that sense of deep peace ever in her entire life. And it was purely because she was able to, it's essentially like meditation. When I take someone through a session, I am guiding them through a meditation so that they can tap into layers of themselves. She has had a level of healing and peace that she was not able to get from any other therapy. And that to me is profound. And that is something that is so incredible, to think that we have soul contracts with other humans on this world, that we are a lot more powerful than we realize, and that if we do remember that our soul's eternal and we remember all these memories again, we could not only heal, but we could live more of our purpose path as well. So that for me, that session, and that took me by surprise. It wasn't something that I specialized in. It wasn't something that I did a lot. And I just had the feeling like, let's just go into the past life and let's just see. And she has an amazing relationship with her kids.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Let's pivot for a second and let's talk about your podcast. Tell me a little bit about, I mean, what's the name of your podcast? What's it about? And like what kind of like inspired you to start a podcast?
Okay, so this is really cool. So the podcast that I am working on an app at this moment in time. It's called Synced Mind. And
Mm-hmm.
it's to bring people synchronistically together online. So all these mystical, synchronistic moments that we're talking about, it's actually going to connect people. Now, what the podcast is the podcast is talking about these synchronistic moments. It's the people that I've met along the way that are like, this is crazy how we met. Let us tell you the story.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story like that. Like you meet a human and you're like, how? Even you and I. It's just like amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the podcast is a platform to share stories of synchronicities and those moments that you just cannot explain, but you know they're true, that they give you goosebumps. All of us have had that. And yeah, this is really exciting. The app's going to be launching in the next month or so.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye out for that too.
No, we definitely will. What would you say keeps you grounded through all these like life transitions and like whatnot? What would you say keeps you grounded today?
Meditation.
Meditation.
Meditation and setting my intentions, really having that faith that there is something bigger than me that is always showing me the way. Grounding practices as well. I love to walk. You know, if we're talking about practical things that I do and that other people can do, walking, going to the gym, that really helps to balance your energy, having a structure where you feel connected to nature. Even just sometimes some mornings I will be like, I don't feel grounded today, and I'll take my shoes off and go walk in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
There's a science of grounding. It literally changes your physical cells in your body. It helps with inflammation. It just helps you to feel that inner balance. So yeah, grounding is very important for me. I definitely need it, and I swear by it. And that's what people can do, and that's what I do: grounding, meditation, and just genuinely blind faith.
Then the meditating piece, like that's something you weren't really into before. Then what kind of got you into it?
Oh, I mean, years ago, if you were like, do you meditate? I'd be like, no, I can't close my eyes and keep my mind quiet for like a second. And I genuinely couldn't. And I couldn't understand the power of it either. I was like, I don't get it. Like, why would you waste your time sitting doing nothing? Like, I've got things to do.
Yeah.
And it was actually a mentor of mine, and she does incredible work with people, helping them spiritually and in relationships. And she said to me, do you meditate? And I said, no. And she said, well, that's going to be one of the most important things that you do to connect to your intuition. And I said, I don't know, how do I start? What do I do? And she says, just close your eyes. Just close your eyes and feel where the resistance is. And I was like, okay. So, and I'll never forget the first time I meditated. I sat on my couch and I closed my eyes, and it was as if every thought, fear, emotion just came to the forefront of my mind. And I was like, oh my God, no, I don't want to do this. This is just no. And
Yeah.
I'm communicating this with her, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. And she's like, this is exactly why you should. Let the thoughts come, let the thoughts go, and just do it every day. It's a practice. It's like building muscle. It's like going to the gym, but it's for your soul. It's for your spirit.
Yeah.
So every day I would just sit for a couple of minutes and be like, what's coming up here? And sometimes I would even just meditate with a pen and paper next to me and write down the list of stuff that I was coming to my mind. Like, you need to do this, you need to go here, you need to pay that. And I just have like a to-do list some days. But actually, by me persevering with that and having a different experience every day, it was clearing my mind. And it was actually my intuition speaking to me, saying, these are the things you need to deal with now, and these are the things that's not important. And that's what meditation does. It really helps you to align what you need to do in order to move forward and what you need to release in order to stop yourself from being held back. And that's where the magic of meditation comes in. And I would really genuinely say that for anyone starting out, it's like the noise is always going to be there when you start, but it will quiet down, and it is a practice and it's unique to everyone.
How would you like, I mean, let's say like someone's for people like willing to like try out meditation, how would you like recommend they start?
So I would say, I mean, even just like what I did, just sit down, close your eyes, see how you feel. Tap into what's the thought that's repetitive. What is the feeling in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? And just having that self-awareness. A lot of people can't meditate in silence for a long period of time initially, but I would say that pause and the intention of being with your own thoughts, which is a scary thing for us all. It's one of the most profound things that you can do. So start every day, even just for a couple of minutes, and build it up, and keep track of what's coming up in your mind. Keep track of how you're feeling in your body. There's some really beautiful meditation music that you can listen to online, healing frequencies, sound bowls. There's all different kinds of almost like background energy that you can listen to if silence is too much. But I would say if somebody wants to know how to meditate, it is something that I teach. I do workshops. But yeah, it's like either having someone guide you that can take you through the process, or just being at one with yourself to see how you're actually feeling.
So you said, go ahead.
I'm just going to say, as we were talking right now, there's like literally a spider that's like hanging from here. And the spider is one of the, it's an omen for luck and for creation and for, sharing positive messages. So it's very much in alignment with what we're doing right now with the podcast.
Yeah, that's really awesome. But yeah, I'm definitely so glad to have you on, like for sure. So what's like the best advice you would say like you've ever received?
The best advice I have ever received. I meet the most beautiful souls and they share their wisdom with me. And I would say when I hear other people talk about what changed them, I'm trying to think of, I can't even pinpoint it to one person.
Or a couple.
There's just so many memories that are popping into my mind right now. There was a friend of mine recently, actually, that I met in a very synchronistic way, which would be a whole different podcast on its own. But what they said to me is, the conversation went like this. I didn't know what I wanted to do that day. I felt out of alignment. I wasn't sure what to do. And I said to them, I just really, I don't know what to do today. I have no idea what to do. What wisdom have you got for me? And they said, I think the only thing that you need to do today is just let your soul shine. And I was like, what does that even mean? And how do we all let our soul shine? What does it mean to let your soul shine? What is your soul trying to tell you? And how do you shine that outwards to the world?
Yeah.
Like, actually, that just gave me a lot of food for thought. Maybe all I need to do today is create. Maybe all I need to do today is meditate. However, that means that I need to get back into alignment. That's essentially what they were telling me, is just get yourself back into alignment and the rest is going to figure itself out. And I think when you feel lost or you're not sure or what direction to take, it's like there's power in the pause. There's power in the pause. What is it that your inner being, your literal soul is telling that you need over what you think you want? Having that awareness. Also, another piece of advice that came through was like, if you're uncomfortable, move. You're not a tree. If you need to move, if you need to go do something, you're not stuck, go. And that always sticks with me as well. It's like, if you want something in your life, you genuinely have the power and capacity to like get out of that uncomfortability, and you can move. You can like keep it moving. Yeah.
Those are really great. So I feel like right now, like you seem like someone that has it like all figured out. Do you have you speak about like having like moments like where you don't feel like in alignment and like what you do to kind of get that back. But like do you have like moments like where you still have like just like setbacks or like you feel like you're not doing like what you're supposed to be doing and like you're kind of like straying like a little bit, or would you say like everything's like smooth sailing for you now?
Oh, I absolutely have moments where fear creeps in, and
Hmm.
I think of the magnitude of what I want to create and what I'm manifesting. And, you know, we're all human. We all have these thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So
Hmm.
whilst I might have life experience and the tools to bring myself back into balance, it doesn't mean that I'm exempt from feeling the way that everybody else does, because I do.
Yeah.
Um, even recently, I woke up in the morning and thought, wow, I'm in a reality now that I dreamt up a year ago. Wow. And it was scary because I think, okay, this is my reality and I'm doing this. All of these
Mhm.
things that I wished for, I'm doing it. But I have to have the groundedness to pull all this off. I have to have the groundedness to make this happen exactly how I'm seeing it's going to. And that can be daunting. That can be scary because when you manifest something and it drops into your life, unless you've done the inner work to be able to sustain that. And
Mhm.
when I say sustain a manifestation, what I mean by that is really being able to release any old patterns, any old thought forms, behaviors, anything that was linked to who you were before. I call it dropping the sandbags, right? If there's any breakups is a big sandbag. When people get heartbroken, that sandbag's heavy. So it's like
Mhm.
being able to process that. Grief is another one when you lose a loved one. You know, these life experiences that we have can sometimes become heavy on us. It's heavy on your soul. When you're able to release those sandbags and you're then able to say, I am in the present, what am I creating for the future? That is really when you're able to dissolve fear and um, really have that faith. So, yeah, when I'm in these moments, which I had even yesterday, I was like, okay, I have a lot of things to do. And I can feel almost like feel that feeling coming in, like overwhelm.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, let me just, and I would meditate. And I'm like, just like clear my mind and meditate. This isn't going to solve my problem because I've got actions that I need to take, but the actions become clear because my mind is canceling out the noise that's unnecessary. And the noise is fear. Fear is like an illusion. And meditation helps me to dissolve illusion. It helps me to dissolve fear. It helps me to drop the sandbags. And that's why it's so important. So yeah, to answer that question, it's being in alignment with self is one of the most powerful things that you can do because it will help you to constantly move forward in the direction of your purpose rather than staying stuck in fear and comfortability.
Wow. Then I want to go back to what I asked, what's the best advice you've ever received? Now I'm curious to see like what you answered to what's the worst advice you've ever received.
The worst advice. Uh, Play it safe. Like, no, you can't play it safe in
Mhm.
this life. Nope.
Mhm.
Play it safe. You should, oh, just, you know, play small, play safe. Worst advice you could ever get. And don't take that advice. Don't play small. Don't play safe.
Mhm.
Ever. Yeah, worst advice I've ever received. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, I like those ones. So What advice like would you give to like your younger self, like knowing all that you know now? It could be like your younger self that prior to Big Brother, or like your younger self like starting over, like I mean after the show was over, just at any point like in your life, like what advice would you give?
I would say trust your intuition, follow your own path and not someone else's, meditate more, and just really, really trust the nudges that the universe has given you and follow that. Follow your own path. Don't follow other people's.
That's great. So like I mean moving forward, what are your future plans?
So at this moment in time, I am creating an incredible meditation album all about dropping the sandbags. It's getting rid of any limiting beliefs. It's a self-hypnosis meditation album. So that's coming out very, very soon. There will be workshops attached to it. I've got a couple of international speaking events coming up. So really, I am in this phase of life where I am really, really grateful to be sharing the knowledge that I have on meditation, on hypnosis, and just giving people the tools and the power to release themselves from anything that holds them back from living a happy, peaceful life, because we all deserve happiness. We all deserve to feel that freedom inside of us. And by me creating these concepts and albums, then it allows me to help other people on the path too. So there's a lot going on and I'm really, really excited about it.
Do you know like some of the places you're gonna be speaking at?
There's one coming up in Phoenix.
Okay.
The first one is Phoenix, so I'll be able to share some of the details with that. It's the Women Empowerment event. I was there last year; they were incredible. But yeah, there's a couple of other ones that are being locked in right now, so I'll be sure to share them on my socials and let
Yeah.
everybody know where they're going to be. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting. So I guess like kind of like wrapping things up, like where can people kind of like follow you, follow your story and just like keep up with you?
So my Instagram is where I share so much on Instagram. I'm on that platform. I'm active there every day. There's also
Hmm.
links to my website and links to the Sync to Mind app over there. So if they want to connect with me on Instagram, it's at Carly Ashworth, and then all my other links are going to be there.
Perfect. Carly, I really appreciate you for coming on. Like this was amazing and like nothing short of what I thought it was gonna be. But yeah, thank you so much. And hopefully like we can connect soon and like I would love to come to like one of like your speaking events and just kind of like follow you on your journey. But I really appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you, me too, and thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure. I've loved every minute. So
Yeah,
good.
me too. This was great. But have a good day and hopefully we can stay connected.
Sure. Thank you so much.